you always want to create things that when you look at them, you can't escape from them. So it's like, you know, you kind of trap the eye and you trap the imagination. You have to sort of physically tear yourself away.
One of the things that the partners in the YSI have done is to respond to this provocation by this wonderful artist, Philip de Barlow, who said that sculpture is the most anthropological of the art forms. And the artists in this festival have responded to that. They're people who have really have a particular interest in material and the kind of cultural histories that they're engaged with. And, you know, from my perspective, that's something that's very clear in your work, somebody who's really interested in material and what material can do, but also examining the human condition, I suppose, through your work.
Yeah, I mean, I like that idea. Is it the John Ruskin idea that, you know, all art goes back to the cavemen and it's an unbroken line,
yeah,
you know, type of thing, where you just think, you know, people started making handprints and blood on the walls and that was the painting,
yeah.
and then sculptures is animal fat and earth, and they started sculpting things. So, I mean, I love that idea.
And the fantastic thing about that is that it's a human compulsion.
Yeah, I mean, I buy into all that. I love all that. I mean, art's, you know, I mean, I always think that advertisers use art to kind of sell you things you don't need, whereas artists use it to kind of celebrate things that you already have and might have not noticed. It seems like a really warm and generous thing. I mean, I remember thinking I had to be original when I first started, and I thought I've got to, like, come up with something like Picasso's bike seat with the handlebars.
Yeah.
It's just amazing, the bull's head, you know, and I was thinking, how am I going to come up with something like that? And then I sort of slowly realised that art's really a reflection of the world that you're living in. It's not, you know, it's got to be about now. When I was growing up, I remember the guy with the barrel in Leeds.
The sculpture up by the shopping centre.
Yeah, I mean, a lot of people hated it.
Yeah.
And it got a lot of slagging and critical, and then people loved it. You know, it's a bit like, I suppose if you have a lot of people said to me, like, when you put in a sculpture somewhere, they say a lot of people can complain about it going in, but a lot more complain when it goes out. Yeah, but that sculpture always inspired me when I was young. I really liked it. And also, it was before mobile phones, so we'd always meet there. So you go and meet you by the guy with the barrel.
Yeah. And
you kind of, you know, realise our sculpture, which is nothing to do with what the artist wants, become this big focal point for people where you kind of almost, you know, it becomes part of who you are and what you are without you realising it.
This is The Hat Makes the Man, which is based on a 1920 Max Ernst collage.
I always loved that collage. The first time I saw it, I thought it's kind of sculptural. It'd make a really great sculpture. And you can see he's got, like, images of hats from newspapers and just cut them out and then made them into men. And it seems like that, you know, that really direct, stupid way of doing something is a really great thing.
One of the things that's really astonishing about this is that actually it's a bronze, and it completely doesn't look like a bronze. It looks like bits of wood hammered together and, you know, really crappy old palettes that it's been put on.
I mean, I like things to not be what they look like. You know, it's like when you're looking at something and it's like you get distracted by the what it's made of. So you look at this to find out what the answer is. Why are you making men out of hats? What are you trying to say about, hang on, what's it made out of? And then you get distracted. So those two things go on at the same time, and they just involve you in a really deep way.
We've got the Virgin Mother down at the bottom of the park, and she's a 10-metre high, extraordinary pregnant woman, flayed on one side.
She originally started as the Degas ballerina, but also it was a sort of sister piece to Him, which was the sculpture that I did, which was I just wanted to do like a male and female version.
And Him is the work on Brigitte.
Well, Him was the first bronze that I made, and what happened was I bought a studio next where Lynn Chadwick, you know, the sculptor?
Yeah.
I bought it from him, but it was right by a foundry that he'd set up for his own work.
Yes.
And because of the location, I ended up meeting the guy who ran it, and I went and spoke to him, and I was looking at it, and I really wasn't into bronze, or the idea of it, because it was so old-fashioned. And then I just started thinking about it, and I'd seen Jeff Koons bronzes like the Aqualung and things like that, where he'd done a really contemporary thing with it. And then I went in there with him, this little toy with my son at the time, Connor, when he was little, and it was like a kid's toy. And I said, look, I went in, it was the first thing I made, I said, I want to make this in bronze. And he said, how big do you want it? And I said, about 22 feet tall. And he said, why do you want to make it so big? And I said, I want to feel like my son does when he's got his in front of this one. So I want to feel like a child with it. I want it to be so big that I feel like a child. And he went, great. He goes, well, why don't we make it in plastic or resin? And I said, I want it to be bronze. And he goes, well, what do you want it to look like? I said, I want it to look like plastic. And he went, why do you want to make it in bronze? And I said, because I want it to be bronze because of all that history.
Yeah.
And we had this whole sort of conversation going round and round. And then he came back to me and said, look, let's paint it with car paint. And we might have to be repainted every 20 years, but it'll last and it'll look good.
And also the work in the shopping centre, the really beautiful marble angel.
Yeah, Anatomy of an Angel,
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, I think it's really nice to have such a wide variety of my stuff up here as well. And also, they're made to go outside, so it's really great to be...
Except for the formaldehyde piece, which Leeds is really, really lucky to have. We haven't spoken yet about Myth, which is the really beautiful unicorn, which is over by the Western, our new building. There's a kind of a degree of surprise in that. So you've got this white, apparently a very beautiful unicorn stroke horse figure. And then on the other side, again, you see this sort of flayed, eviscerated animal.
The Anatomy of an Angel sort of works in the same way, where you go, well, if it's an angel, then it's kind of not human. So then to expose it as human is, you think, well, if it's got, that means it can die, but can it die? But it's, and as an artwork, it's immortal. And I suppose the whole myth thing is about, science, exploding myths, but all myths, being somehow uncovered, and how, it causes fear in religion, even the world is flat, the world is round, and, all the silly things we believed and, what we're trying to believe. So it's just a combination of everything. I mean, I think it ends up being, beyond mythical. There's nothing mythical about it, except it's, it's immortal in a way.
We've got Charity. In a way, probably one of the most difficult sculptures here for some people to accept, because of what she's representing. Yeah,
I think it is difficult. I think it's difficult. I mean, for me, in a way, when I made it as well, it was to do with my past, because, my local shop had one outside it. You'd see them everywhere when I was growing up. The idea that it's been broken into and, the back snapped out and people took the money out. And I think that's sort of what happened with the world, in a way. I felt like it for me when I was growing up. She's been violated, but she was already violated before she started, really, because of the, using, young girls to sell this kind of to try and tap into your charity, to get you to give. It's suspect on lots of levels, but it's, it's the way that we were. So it's almost like, breaking open our own history and exposing it, or, trying to come to terms with it.
These works are talking to us in some ways about the frailty of our life and the passing of our lives, and we've only got one of them.
Yeah, I mean, I think that's what all art does. It is that, we're here for a good time, not a long time. So I think that's what I want all the sculptures to kind of say to people. I remember when I was like 7 or something, when I realised that you die, and it's like you can't escape it. I remember thinking, bummer. It's like, well, I don't want to die. But, then every day since then, my feelings about it have been different.
Yeah.
And, I've lost people that I care about, and that affects me in one way. But it's like every single day, my whole, everything I think about it always changes. And it's like you can never grasp it. I like that great Samuel Beckett quote where he said, "Death doesn't require us to make a day free."
Yes.
I think that's like the worst sort of bit about it, isn't it? It's like, you kind of, and you can swing from total nihilism to totally ignoring it. I mean, I think art's always a positive force, and a lot of people can say it's death. But, my mother always taught me to confront the things you can't avoid. And so, a lot of people don't like to look at death or talk about it, or they like to sweep it under the carpet, especially in our society. But, I always think, confront it in some way if you can. But, I guess there's a point, isn't there, where, I'll be going up to somebody and they'll say, "Who are you?" And I'll go, "I'm the guy that did the shark." And they'll go, "What?" And I'll go, "The spot painting." And they go, "What?" And I go, "The diamond skull." And they go, "What?" No, you do. You definitely get that.
No,
it might not be today, but there are, everybody becomes, especially with what's happening in the world, you become like, I suppose that's more frightening than death.
Yeah. Well, you've
Not
left a
being
brilliant,
connected.
you've already got a fantastic legacy. So thank you.
Cool,
Thank you very much.
you.